Hey, what's happening? All right, your favorite SEO, Dan Mladanovsky here, ready to get into the programmatic as we always do. So this is just the start of very long series of programmatic SEO tips. Now, I've been talking about programmatic SEO for years at conferences all across the country. Basically, what I really want to do is I want to hone down on each individual sort of recommendation or tip. I think it can get like lost in translation pretty quick. Like, you might see it or you might have seen it before as like a little dot point, but I want to elaborate and I really want to talk through everything there is to know about programmatic. It's pretty exciting. Like, I'm very passionate about this topic, as you'll soon find out. And basically, I want to really go deep. I want to discuss every microscopic detail of a website, especially a large website where, certain changes can impact the SEO performance of that website. So without further ado, I'm going to get started with one tip. It's going to be very simple. It's going to be one video, one tip, one concept, right? Go out there, you can do it yourself, or I'll provide an example, I'll explain it in detail. And yeah, you're going to be able to really understand it, hopefully, and you can up that programmatic game and become one of the best. That's my hope, and everybody that watches this really does learn and adapt and implement. That's the goal. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pretty much just go in and we're going to have a look at a certain set of keywords, and we're going to talk about modifiers and how they can sort of really open up a campaign. So let's say, you have, let's go with something everybody knows, plumbing, right? Let's say you're a plumber and you're located in Melbourne, right? So you might first start, and first off, we'll change this to Australia. You're a plumber, you might want to search plumber, right? You want to search plumbers and plumbing. And that might be your modifier. Let's just go to matching terms here. And you get a list, right? You get a pretty decent list of potentials. And basically what we really want to try and do here is we want to sort of think to ourselves, okay, like what's a keyword that can be quite consistent that we can include? In this case, it may be a location, right? So the modifier, what we're seeing here is we're seeing plumber Sydney, obviously we're seeing plumber Melbourne, but let's really hone in on the parent topic of Melbourne. So we've got plumber Melbourne. We'll take a look at it. Right, it's pretty interesting. It gives us some ideas, but what it's not doing here is it's not looking at, the scope. So it looks great that, we're trying to rank for 2,700 potential search volume, potential 1,500 traffic, because it's quite well clicked. But what we want to look at here is we want to include certain keywords. So basically, let's take a few suburbs that exist in Melbourne. So let's take something like Box Hill. Oops. Let's take something like Preston. Maybe something like, let's go the other side, Essendon. Maybe something like Werribee. Maybe something like, let's go a bit bigger, Dandenong. All right. So what we're trying to do here is we're just trying to look at locations, and straight away we can see, okay, like there's 200 people looking for plumbers in Werribee, 200 people looking for plumbers in Preston, 150 people looking for a plumber in Essendon. That's awesome, right? So straight away we know that, okay, like if we create a page for plumber and suburb, right, within the greater Melbourne area, there is definitely a larger scope of volume. And if you have a look at, the total number was 2,700 for Melbourne, but when you start already, like, Melbourne has hundreds and hundreds of suburbs, and I've just taken 5 here. We've already got combined volume here of 200, 400, 550, another 150. So, you know, you're talking 700 just for 4. Then you've got 90 on Box Hill. But then you've got other, so, you know, you've got emergency plumber, Essendon, that's 70. You've got roof plumber, Dandenong, 70. So all of a sudden, what we've identified here is we've identified 2 types of modifiers. Not only can we do it for your location or suburb or postcode if you're in the US, but you can also do it for type of plumbing service. So we can see emergency plumber here, we can see roof plumber here, and I'm sure as we go down the list, we may find another potential. We want to exclude any sort of, you know, brand term because that's not going to be conducive. But here we go, gas plumber, right? Or gas fitter. So as you can see, like, you know, the opportunities really start opening up. And now all of a sudden, you know, we have other potential sort of opportunities here. So before, where we just had, you know, if you're plumbing, just before plumber, now instead of just being plumber, now you can go, you know, plumbing service, right? Plus the word plumber, right? That's 1. Then you've got plumber plus location. Let's stick with a square brackets for consistency. And now we've also got the third one, right? Which is plumbing service, plumber, right? The reason I'm putting it in this order is because this is what we saw ranking. Location. So now, rather than, you know, just going for plumber and then plus, you know, something large like plumber Melbourne, we can now go plumbing service plumber. So, you know, gas plumber, roof plumber, emergency plumber, plus plumber and location. So, you know, plumber Dandenong, and now something similar like roof plumber Dandenong, right? So all of a sudden, it really opens us up to a much larger opportunity. And the reality is, right, if you're trying to rank a site, you know, I've used a commercial site here because this is, you know, what we ultimately want. We want commercialized traffic coming to the site in order to get an ROI for the website or for the business, for the clients, for whatever it might be. But, you know, there is this method can effectively be applied, you know, in most industries, not all, but most. And it is to your discretion whether, you know, this opportunity does match, but it is worthwhile because, you know, you can open your site up to a lot of potential leads if you get it right, and if you especially have the authority, which not to say if you don't have it, you can build it alongside the programmatic campaign. But yeah, that is what I wanted to talk to you about. Keyword modifiers in programmatic SEO, right? Programmatic SEO keyword research, like basically, you know, identifying, you know, your seed term, right? What your, you know, core business or core focus is, and then identifying, you know, what are people looking for? How are people searching? What are the patterns of the market, of how users sort of, you know, might, you know, discover your business? So keyword discovery, very important. And then once you idolize and you sort of brainstorm a couple of these ideas, what you want to do is you want to plug them into a tool like your keyword tool. Could be SEMrush, could be Ahrefs, could be the Google Keyword Planner, could be a keyword keg. And then you want to essentially, you know, see, okay, is my market actually looking for this? Is there a demand for this service, for this particular page? And, you know, you do want to aggregate those numbers. You know, the amount of total volume completely is going to depend on your industry. Certain industries are higher value, so, you know, they require less traffic. Others require more traffic, you know, to sort of get the same ROI. So that is to your discretion. This is all things I will be discussing in future videos of how you determine exactly what that ROI is. But to give you an idea of how you want to map out your site and what type of content you should have for programmatic, like this strategy is very, very simple, very, very straightforward, and it's a no-brainer. Just going to reiterate it again. You've got your seed term, right? And then you can hypothesize, using a mind map. I just took, Melbourne as plumbing because, I have a good idea that people are searching for this service. There's 5 million plus people in the city. Within that, when we searched plumber Melbourne, we searched plumber more broadly, we took a few, keywords. We thought, okay, within Melbourne, there's certain suburbs. So we found there was definitely large scope for the 5 suburbs. You had, 700 to 800 search volume. Then we also discovered some certain areas people looking for specific plumbing services within that location. So therefore, having a service page for each individual plumbing activity or service makes sense. And then within that, under that, you could put the specific plumbing service in the specific location. So really as simple as that. There you have it. Keeping it simple, right? Programmatic SEO keyword modifiers. This is what we really want to sort of hone down on. And as I said, every business, every website, it's going to be different, and it's not going to work in every industry. But where it does work, it is so powerful. And if implemented right, and implemented correctly, and you've got the authority to back it, you can really skyrocket the traffic and get those leads cranking. But look, hope you enjoyed your time. Look, any questions, happily leave some feedback, comment, like, subscribe, throw it into the chat. But yeah, looking forward to hearing everybody's stories about how they all of a sudden started taking off in the SERPs because they added relevant pages via programmatic that they otherwise didn't know. I'm Dan Mladenovski, everybody, your Programmatic SEO. I'll see you all shortly. Thank you.